I've been on a bit of an East Coast jaunt, not writing much, save one piece about eating at Jamais, the best restaurant in the world back in the 90s, but not sure I have it in me to post it. Still, I wanted to say hi to all the new subscribers, and thank you for tuning in. I hope we get to know each other. I'm not exactly sure where this Substack is headed, now that I've completed my record of the Phoenix years. The logical course would be to continue on and chronicle the madness of Crusader entertainment. But I have a lot of other things I want to write too. It fills my head and body with so much excitement that most days all I can do is mainline coffee and lie on the couch, riding the wave of promise until it's time for work. Oh well, I've always been profligate with potential. Still, one thing I have intended to do was publish this slightly longer version of my Hollywood Reporter article that was trimmed for creative purposes prior to release. In fairness to the good folks at the Reporter, this version below does reflect quite a lot of feedback I received between first and second, and maybe third drafts of the piece, and I happily concede their notes make the article better. Still, as we neared publication date, one major creative difference remained between the magazine and me. It had actually been a fundamental disagreement from the first draft. While I wanted to go into some of the minutiae and mechanics of construction work, the Reporter felt that their audience was not interested in every nail ever hammered in the course of my work. I beg to differ. It's new to me, it's interesting to me, it's baffling to me. I bet I am not alone. In fact, I could go on and on about the intriguing and hilarious mishaps born of construction work, but I will save that for the book. I also wanted to include the mechanics of construction because they felt important to the storytelling. There was a ticking clock. The job had to be finished in time for the big 50th anniversary celebration. This is true. I also felt that in describing the mechanics, the audience might see how my spiritual transformation, the focus through deft editorial work of the original piece, actually dovetailed with some professional insight that maybe helps the audience understand why I got the job in the first place and how I managed to keep it. I know my boss is my brother-in-law, but I don't totally suck at this work. Please see Reddit and YouTube comments if you are wondering why I feel so compelled to mount this defense. Perhaps I make this process of creative differences sound grander than it was. Most of our disagreement was relegated to one frantic half-hour conversation the night before the piece went live, and I didn't put up much of a fight. I'd been hauling tile all day and didn't have much gas left in the tank. Also, years and years and years of creative differences have taken it out of me. Opinions are subjective. If you don't like mine, I no longer feel compelled to defend it. Hell, I'm probably wrong anyway. But I'm no longer here to argue. That's why I love Substack. One final note, I had also offered to record an audio version of the piece using my own mellifluous voice. Yes, I love the sound of my own voice. But they opted for an AI voiceover instead. So I am here adding that file to this article as well. Thank you for all the support and enthusiasm. Boy, does it hit where it counts. Guero. Director's Cut. It's 5:45 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the Home Depot on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood is already bustling. I'm standing in aisle 18, deep in the lumber section of the cavernous space, evaluating formulations of plaster compound. I've been sent here to get a 50-pound bag of 40-minute, a box of red dot, a box of green dot, a roll of drywall tape, and a roll of frog tape. To be clear, I don't know what any of these things are. The last time I was up this early for work, I was on the set of Cooper's Bar, the sitcom I co-created for AMC, trying to convince Emmy nominee Ray Seahorn that one of the jokes I had written for her character would be funnier if she said the words face anus instead of her preferred choice, face hole. Ray, to her endless credit, ultimately agreed. In the intervening months, Hollywood has suffered an actor's strike, a writer's strike, a spiraling production exodus, and a content contraction precipitated by the economics of streaming and the rise of creators on media platforms like YouTube and TikTok. I lost my job working at a production company, and my show got canceled. After a 30-year career in Hollywood where I held executive positions at companies like Anschutz Entertainment Group and Phoenix Pictures, where I wrote, produced, and directed award-winning movies and TV like Ray and Afternoon Delight, I am now a construction worker. Like going broke, as Hemingway famously quipped, my construction career happened gradually and then all at once. I spent the first year after getting laid off holding on to the Hollywood dream. My old company, Whitewater Films, hired me to write a sports comedy, Puckheads, about an aging minor league hockey enforcer who gets coerced into playing for a cartel in Mexico City. Everyone loved the script. Ian Jeffers, the Gray, and I wrote a killer pilot about special ops forces in post-World War II Germany, tracking Hitler's nukes. Everyone loved the script. I wrote a contained horror film, The Vegetable, I planned to direct. OMFG, everyone loved the script. I collected unemployment, I started a YouTube channel, The Cross-Eyed Chef, And I wrote a memoir, Super Ritz. But more and more my calls to Hollywood went unreturned, and it became clear that despite all the kind words about my work, I could not pay the rent and college tuition for my 18-year-old on praise alone. It was a fast and demoralizing descent, but one I suppose I had always seen coming. Over the years, the Grim Reaper of Hollywood had already come for so many of my colleagues, forcing them to pull their kids from private school and move home. There was no way my number wouldn't one day come up. Besides, Hollywood had always made me feel like I had no real value. As an exec, you are responsible for everything and nothing, all at once. You sit in your office trying to catch falling knives, wondering which one will deliver the fatal blow. You have almost no control over it. Being a writer is even worse. What's more, the town had made it clear to me that I didn't have the right stuff. As a studio chief once told me in a job interview, affability counts for nothing in this town, Nick. What was I, if not affable? When I lost my job and show, it just confirmed the way Hollywood had always made me feel. Worthless. Thankfully, during that first year, my brother-in-law, Reeve Schley, a master cabinet maker and general contractor in Los Angeles, and one of the all-time great dudes in the pantheon of dudedom, approached me about overseeing the renovation of a house in Los Feliz that he had purchased as an investment. He was planning a gut renovation, and he wanted me to keep an eye on it, handle some of the administrative work around city permitting, and make sure the crew had whatever supplies they might need for the day's planned work. Knowing nothing about construction, save the few projects I'd done at my own house, I said yes. Every day after writing for a couple hours, I stepped out of my effete world of character arcs and inciting incidents, coffee meetings, and tracking boards, and into the manly world of construction. I won't kid you, it was intimidating. As fuck. My brother-in-law's team is made up of guys from all over the globe with expertise in carpentry, masonry, painting, and electric. They can, to a man, hurl 90-pound bags of concrete into a truck bed with the same ease I employ to sip a latte. They speak a language of Romex wire and 5S half-inch double gang plates that is pure gibberish in fluent English and a mysterious phonetic incantation in the fractured Spanglish used at work. I can't tell the difference between a jackhammer and a skill saw. I stumble around the job site, a minefield of half-built concrete footings and sewer trenches, in my khakis and gazelles like a burlesque dancer navigating the ruins of the London Blitz. I get sent to Home Depot a lot. People of color won't go there these days because ICE has effectively suspended habeas corpus for anyone who even looks like they may be undocumented. But someone on every construction crew must endlessly ferry supplies from the lumberyard to the site. That job falls to me, and I suck at it. After every run, Ramon, my construction foreman, reams me out in broken English for buying the wrong shit. Even when he sends me pictures of exactly what he wants, I somehow still always get it wrong. I'm stupefied by how it keeps happening. Partly it's my ignorance, partly it's my lack of Spanish, partly it's just the nature of communication. It's an imperfect art. You need to double check, he tells me. You need to ask for help. I try to swallow his criticism gracefully, but it's not easy. My show was nominated for an Emmy, I want to scream. But when I do voice my frustration, I then have to listen to the whole crew mock me in the Spanish language they know I can't understand. I suppose if I had been hoping to feel less worthless, taking an entry-level position in a blue-collar industry where the language of choice is not my native tongue was probably the wrong move. Still, I clearly wasn't doing everything wrong, because 6 months into my tender, my brother-in-law called me to the job site one morning and tasked me with taking our crew up to the Roxy Theater on Sunset to repaint the hulking landmark. He also asked me if I was down to help him oversee the rehabilitation of a Neutra jewel box in Bel Air, a Spanish two-bedroom in West Hollywood, and the gut renovation of an Eichler split level in Thousand Oaks. I wasn't in a place to turn the opportunity down. My wife, the Emmy Award-winning costume designer Marie Schley, shattered her spine in a ski accident in December, so no one in this household has been earning any income for quite some time. I said yes, and just like that, I was in the suck. The job painting the Roxy goes bad right out of the gate. The venue's manager, a bald and burly rocker in black t-shirts and jorts, who runs the place from behind a smoking bong and a fistful of cocktails, walks me around the crumbling monolith. It's an unwieldy pile of rotting wood and stucco, whose big marquee droops over Sunset like the brow of a stroke victim. Its backside is crisscrossed by a jagged grid of defunct pipes and brittle electrical conduits, scarred remnants of previous attempts to keep the old monster animated. A steady drip of fluid, a relentless post-apocalyptic drizzle, seeps off every crooked edge of the theater's dilapidated roof. I'm appalled by the scale of the challenge before me. The owner, I'm told, is throwing a huge party to celebrate the joint's 50th anniversary, and he wants the place looking like new in time for the big event. Like new, I croak in a desperate attempt at humor. But the manager's second in command, a beady-eyed enforcer we'll call Greg, doesn't appreciate the joke. You have to be completely finished and out of here before the party, he interjects with a nasal moan. or the owner will not be pleased. I find his tone imperious, but it's not my job to judge. I'm not an EP on this project. I'm just Nick, the painter. I tell them we'll get it done. What do I know? Turns out when it comes to managing a team of construction workers, I leave a lot to be desired. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't even know what to look for. It reminds me of my earliest visits to film sets, when I'd linger around Video Village praying no one asked me to do anything. Even the language barrier in construction reminds me of how it felt to wander too close to the camera truck and overhear the grips chattering in exotic terms about C-stands and stingers, quarter apples and duvetine. I try to employ the same strategies I used back then. Look attentive, stay positive, and be patient, knowing it will all eventually start to make sense. Despite my best efforts, I still somehow miss the fact that our stucco team leaves drippings under every surface they touch. One afternoon, after my crew has left the site, the guy who runs the Roxy's VIP club, on the rocks, tells me there's stucco on his staircase. "Get a mop and clean it up. Now," he exhorts. "Toby and Leo are coming tonight." I don't have a mop, so I find myself at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday on my hands and knees in the blistering LA sun, using my own t-shirt to scrape stucco from the club's rotting steps. I met Leo once, I think to myself, at Edward Norton's birthday party at the Waddles Mansion. Courtney Love invited me. And look at me now. I want to scream out in frustration. I want to cry. I'm so angry that Hollywood has reduced me to this level of desperation. All the favors I doled out when I was in a position to do so have gone unreciprocated in my darkest hour. My direct pleas for help treated as the humorous pangs of a spoiled child. Why is nobody returning my calls? How could the end of my 30-year career find me scrubbing floors? Why wasn't I taken more seriously by my peers? Was I too haughty? Did I not sleep around enough? Why was my talent never acknowledged? I feel like a fool for ever believing in myself, and I want to take my stupid bucket and knock the Hailey Bieber smoothie right out of the hands of every smug development exec in town with their selvage denim holding in their toxic farts. But on some level, I also feel this is exactly what I deserve. It's the penance I've wrought for my incompetence, my indifference, and my failure to attack the biz with requisite psychosis, assuming my privilege would somehow see me through. It's exactly where Hollywood has told me I belong. But the stairs prove nothing compared to the acute crisis that develops from the relentless drip of water pouring off the venue's roof. Every day it accelerates, and it gets Greg's panties in a nasty bunch. "You've got to deal with this," he bleats at me. I climb on top of the building to investigate. The broad rooftop is painted a bright white to deflect the heat of the sun, and UV rays pulse off it with the force of a tank of burning napalm. It blisters my skin in a matter of minutes, but I manage to find the source of the water. 4 giant HVAC condensers rest atop the theater like giant remoras, their condensation fluid seeping down the roof and into the parking lot. I place paint buckets under the condensers, but they fill up fast, and I have to scurry atop the structure a couple times a day to switch them out. The rooftop is slippery and I fall a lot. I fall flat on my back, my ass, my hips. My clothes are soaked in condenser fluid. My body is black and blue. Still, the water continues. I feel hopeless. After a couple days, water starts pouring into the venue's lobby, and a chunk of drywall gives out. Greg tells me we have to fix it, but my crew does not have time to get to it until the actual morning of the big event. Gathering supplies for the repair is what brings me to the Home Depot at 5:45 a.m. After I finish shopping, I'm in the parking lot, bent over my SUV, when I hear a plaintive voice offering help. I assume it's one of the many day laborers trying to get work, and I decline without looking up, but then I feel a smack on my back and find, not a laborer, but the toothy grin of a TV writer friend, fucking with me. "What are you doing?" he asks incredulously. I'm caught off guard. Stammering, I answer, "This is what I do, for a living." It's the first time I've revealed to anyone in the industry what's become of my life. I'm embarrassed, and I feel my bottom lip quiver like I might burst into tears. But when I look up to meet his gaze, I see something there I've never seen before when talking about my projects, or my pitches, or my career. I'm not even sure what it is. "Good for you," he says, sizing me up as if seeing me for the first time. That's what my dad did growing up. And I realize the look on his face is one I've rarely seen in Hollywood. It's respect. As I pull out of the Home Depot, I undergo a kind of spiritual reconstitution, as I feel the many parts that make up my psyche, father, husband, comic, tennis fanatic, deadhead, and now, construction worker, flow back into this strange amalgam that is Nick Morton. Perhaps I am not something less for this unlikely turn my life has taken, for my determination to not go broke waiting for a call that may never come. Perhaps even in the act of running around this wild city, working on a team of guys from all walks of life, and meeting the kinds of people you tend to ignore when ensconced in your Hollywood bubble, I am in fact becoming something more. Still, when I arrive at the job site, Ramon remains oblivious to the beatific transformation I've just undergone and rips me a new one. The plaster compound's not right, and I didn't get the tape he needs. I thought frog tape was just a cute idiom for green drywall tape. He's angry, but he tells me he can make it work, and I leave him to it as I tend to the list of outstanding items that still need to be completed in time for the party. I'm standing on the sidewalk on Sunset Boulevard, the sun getting low over the Hollywood Hills, as I monitor the final touch-ups on the railing of the stairs up to On the Rocks, when Ramon suddenly bursts from the lobby to lay into me again. I've gotten 2 different colors of paint. I don't understand how this could be. It's black. Isn't black just black? I'm so frustrated by my own incompetence. The stress and the criticism and the pressure of the ticking clock have all gotten to be too much for me, and I'm about to explode when a truck carrying gear for the party pulls into the lot and somehow clips the bucket of paint my painter has left beneath the stairs. The bucket goes sailing and spatters the entire east side of the building with a giant black Rorschach across the walls freshly painted glossy gray. My painter starts screaming. The trailer driver starts screaming. They're both about to brawl. Greg storms out of the venue and he too screams nastily in my face. What are you going to do about this? I have no idea. It seems impossible to believe that all our hard work and intensity, the long hours of problem solving, the frantic sprint to the finish, could all be undone by a bit of slapstick so perfectly conceived. If this was the TV version of my life, the irascible white guy humbled by his experience working construction with a Hispanic crew, this is where the pilot ends. I'd be more upset if I weren't in such awe of the prowess of the storytelling. You should make those guys pay, Greg hisses nastily at me. Yet somehow his hysteria calms me. The chaos and panic work on me the way cocaine works on an ADHD patient. I am suddenly all focus, and I recognize that I have a unique skill set tailor-made for this situation. I'm a producer. Dealing with real-time crises is what we do. On the set of The Game of Their Lives, the Gerard Butler soccer movie I co-produced, we had a full-on riot in a remote jungle town in Brazil. This is nothing compared to that. I may be clueless about carbon vents and epoxy, but I know how to navigate a shitstorm. People make mistakes, I tell Greg. We'll fix it. I pull my rail painter from the fray and tell him it's going to be okay. I've got his back. I'll deal with the venue. He just has to tell me what he needs to make this mess right. As usual, I don't totally understand what he's saying, but our conversation eases his impulse to hurl fists. I glean enough to see he has a plan, and I pull Ramon into the huddle for his input as well. He gives me a list of additional supplies, and I speed off to get what they need. By some act of God, I get it all right this time. Even Ramon has to shrug, a tiny bit impressed, a small grin sneaking across his face. We clean up the mess, we touch up the paint, we gather our gear to head out, just as the first guests for the party arrive. As Ramon pulls out of the driveway, he stops where I'm standing. Marcos is bringing tamales tomorrow. You want one? I'm so touched I can barely speak, and Ramon can tell. It's okay, Nick, he grins. Your brother-in-law was so much worse at this when he first started. And we both die laughing. Maybe there's no glory in this work, no red carpet awards ceremony awaiting us at the end of the year. But there's also no bowing and scraping in this business either. I'm not begging for an opportunity to prove my worth. After 6 weeks of construction work, my skin has cleared up. I've lost 12 pounds, and I sleep like an adolescent boy. I've learned a crazy fuck-ton about rebar and sewer lines and Simpson ties and mortar. I can strap 1,000 pounds of cut lumber to the roof of my truck with barely a second thought. I've grown one serious set of man balls, and I take shit from no one. On some days when I'm bombing up to Bel Air in my beat-up old truck, mariachi music blaring from the radio, the grate of the old F-150 scraping the street shrubs, sending gusts of sweet lavender billowing into my cab, I wonder why I would ever ask for more. Sure, I make an hourly wage, but I know my worth. It's a feeling I rarely experienced in Hollywood, and on some days, it's enough to make me believe I will never go back.